morning, good morning. Sorry, I have rushed this morning to get ready with various phone calls and things I've been doing this morning. How are you? Happy Thursday. I've double drinks today and I've just noticed one of them has a eyelash in it, which is nice. As you are joining, please say hello to me. I've got sunshine here. Let's have a quick survey. It's definitely turned though, hasn't it? These last couple of mornings. It's all about the layers. You don't know what you need on in the afternoon when you get up in the morning because it's something different. But yeah, certainly getting a lot chillier. Good morning, Kirsty. But I've still got my option of my layers for my scarf. So today we are talking law of attraction, and there was a couple of other options in the poll that I put out, and I of course will still get to them. It was really about picking one because I am a little bit indecisive because I could talk about, well, any subject you ask me to, really. South East London got drowned first thing, but sunny and chilly now. Yeah, I could hear the rain this morning, but then by the time I was going out with the children to school, it was soaking, but it was dry, thankfully. Cold this morning, really, really wet yesterday. Yeah, there's a storm, isn't there? Because you're in the north, aren't you, Deborah? Morning, by the way. Isn't there like a tail end of a storm that some people are getting? I could see on my various waypoints of who I know at what point in the country there's certainly a distinction that there's more rain, but it's windy, so I'm not a fan of the wind, but I'm going to get my washing out anyway. Right, let's start. So let's find out already. Let's do a quick little who understands law of attraction, who's looked into it, who is this totally, I've never heard of it, but it sounds marginally interesting. Jackie, good morning, lovely. You've got the sun out, yeah, you're not a million miles away from me, so I guess you're probably the same. Storm Teddy, yeah, I knew there was something. Teddy. Oh, that can't be the alphabetical. We haven't got all the way through to Teddy. 100-foot waves, oh my goodness. Pamela, hi, good morning, lovely to have you with us. Lovely, lovely. Right, so who is where as far as the law of attraction is concerned? Who knows a little bit about it? Who has looked into it loads and they're just interested in my perspective on it? Who's like, I've vaguely heard of the concept, vague idea of it, yeah, okay. And do you know what, I was the same. I'm just going to put my phone on silent, even though if it rings it will be my mum, won't it, and she'll still manage to disturb me. You've been into law of attraction for years. It's going to be interesting what your perspective is then Jackie. I probably hadn't heard of this until I broke away from the corporate world and started to develop myself and started to look into becoming a coach, because it's not something that in the corporate world you often find meetings around the law of attraction. I think it's probably a little too far along the end of the kind of ethereal, is that the right word? And conceptually it doesn't necessarily fit with here's a strategy to follow, here's a blueprint, let's go and do that. But the more I have read, the more I have got examples in my life where it's actually been at play and I've had no idea about it. And you know, there's hundreds of studies done on it, there's loads of books, there's books to help you both understand it as a concept, books available to allow you to try and put some of these things in place, to bring it into your life, to discuss the benefits or otherwise as well. There's some, I started to read a book which was quite science-based, and I found that quite interesting to sort of almost explore the other side of well, is this actually just an unrealistic concept? And I quite enjoyed accessing that, actually. Deborah says you've looked into it, you've always wondered about it because it's a bit fluffy. Yeah, now you think it's part of the abundance one. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so let me just be really clear. I am nowhere near an expert, like nowhere near. I have probably done similar readings than you. Jackie, you've probably been more absorbed in it for longer than I have. But I am sharing this really from a perspective of it's really interested me, like it's fired me up, it's made me go, oh yeah, and got me excited about this subject. So I want to share that with you, and I'm certainly not presenting this to you as this is fact, this is how we need to do these things, this is where you can use it. I am Zosha, good morning, I'm so glad you are going to share this with us. I'm presenting this to you a little bit like I talked to you about the law of compensation. which is Tanya, good morning. Law of compensation is sort of wrapped up in some of these universal laws as well. And again, I'm certainly nowhere near an expert, like nowhere near. But really what I'm wanting to do is introduce you to some of these things, because it's very easy when we're in that push, we get our head down, we hunker down, we take all of these actions and we start ploughing through things that we're working on for the business. It's quite easy to get into that doing energy. And actually sometimes it's nice to give your mind I guess a mental break by looking at some of these other things. And if there's benefit that you can apply to yourself and your business, then all the better, all the better. Love, law of attraction, knew you would, manifesting stuff, yeah. Yes, they are. So, funny story, I had to go to the dentist yesterday morning, and there is a florist that I normally go to across the road from the dentist, but for whatever reason she wasn't open in time, so I had to go to the supermarket, which I don't normally like going for my flowers. And my lovely husband, as I was pulling in to go and get my flowers, he was coming out with them. So it's carnations and irises. The carnations are going to be probably like a week before they open, so they're the pink, but yeah, they're nice, aren't they? Courtesy of husband, so love him. Okay, so let's start off with going right back to basics around what is the law of attraction, because without understanding at least the foundations, we're not going to be able to take the discussion any further. So I have notes. I actually have notes, team. This is unusual for me. Okay, so it's one of the universal laws. It is one of the universe has a number of different laws around it, and they govern everything that occurs in our lives. Like it or not, there's things that happen which we are effectively kind of passengers in, and it has its roots, the law of attraction has its roots in those, and it has its roots actually in quantum physics. Now, I can't even believe that I'm saying these words, quantum physics. Like, I'm the most unscientific person you'll ever meet. I struggled with all sorts of science and maths. I'm not wired like that at all. But physicists have actually studied this to the point of being able to apply these theories to scientific experiments. And the way that they've done this is around the fact that everything is energy. Now, this totally bends my head. Is this just like, yeah, this is fine for everyone? Because this really melts my mind. So what they have proved over years of lots of different tests and studies is that everything is energy, every single thing. We're all like these little atoms. And I remember at school learning about your atoms and your protons and your electrons. I don't even know where I can remember that. And just not being able to get it. It's like, no, I can touch that thing, therefore it's a thing. I have to almost sort of suspend what I can see to be able to get some of this stuff, even to remotely go into my head. It melts my mind. So the thought that everything is effectively energy on a different frequency, on a different vibration. And the easiest way that I think of it is, we can make sound waves visual, so that you can see them on those charts. And I've been to a discovery centre thing with my children where you can create the sound waves, and a sound wave at this level vibrates here, and then a sound wave at this vibrates here. Therefore, we absorb it in different ways. I'm vibrating at around a 9.5, right? Ooh, is that good? Is it out of 10 or is it out of like 100? Because if it's out of 100, I'm not. Oh, right, here we go. Everything is energy. It's exactly what I've been teaching people for a long time. Our energy affects our outcome. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But yeah, it's just weird. It's amazingly exciting and weird all at the same time. So I'm about 9. I'm gonna have that out of 10. Because do you know what? I didn't feel like that this morning. I was feeling a bit out of 10. Bonus. So, different frequencies. We've got this sort of chart. Different frequencies, different energies. And we can kind of all be really conscious of that in... it blows your mind too. Brilliant. I'm glad. We'll be in Live Blow Our Mind. And Zosha and Jackie can be in the... Yeah, we've totally got this. We've been doing this for ages. Emma, hi, lovely. Long time no see. It is great to have you here. We're talking law of attraction actually, and where we sit on that scale. So do share what your thoughts are, Emma, because we're diving in. We're diving in. We're learning. So the easiest way that I like to think of these different energies and the way that you can affect one another and you can affect results through the different energy levels is thinking about a microwave. Yeah, who knew quantum physics? Right, so let's think about a microwave. So this is the way that I can connect with this whole energy, quantum physics, vibrations thing. Right, this allows me to connect with this. So if I put this drink into the microwave, the vibrations in the microwave will create a different energy. So they're vibrating at a different frequency than that drink is, and that will then affect the energy in the liquid. And the result of it is that the liquid, or the matter, in this case the liquid, alters, as in it gets hotter. Okay, so right back to basics. There is energy in the world everywhere. We all are balls of energy, and the way that we vibrate reacts to something else, and it therefore impacts us, because we're getting all of these vibrations all the time off all sorts of things. Okay, so when I put my drink in the microwave and I say, right, put it on for 30 seconds at this speed, the microwave produces the energy. Obviously it's manufactured energy in that context. It produces the energy, which then changes the state of the drink, which makes it hot. That is the way that I access this in terms of quantum physics. So if that resonates for anyone, brilliant, because I read this and it was like, oh, okay, I've got it now. So let's put that into our world, into our bodies. We have the ability to distribute, is that the right word? To actually vibrate at a given frequency. Now that frequency for me is pretty much it is constant. Like we all know those people who vibrate at a pretty high frequency. Now you probably don't label it in that way, but you would describe them as being high energy, a bit hyper, a bit this, a bit the other, because they kind of exude that. And then there's those other people that that are a little bit more calm with their energy. So they still might be a very, very positive person, but they've got their own frequency. So as they emit what they're giving off, then that is affecting all of those around us. And it is like the other way that I this really hits for me. When you're driving, or maybe you're a passenger. I love doing this experiment, and we used to do this all the time when I was a kid and with my kids in the car. So if you're a passenger in the car and you're driving along the motorway and everyone's just sat there like that, aren't they? They're just like that. And you look over at somebody else in the car. You see, I'm doing that because we're overtaking. Or you look at somebody else and they know you're looking at you. Don't they? All the time, every single time. The same can happen if you're in a cafe. Do you remember that when you were in a cafe? And you might look over at somebody, they know you're looking at them. I'm absolutely convinced that is because of the energy that you are therefore transferring. Because our eyes particularly are the absolute window into our soul, and I so truly believe that. Our eyes will emit that to that person, and they sense it, and they look to try and find out where that's coming from. Really, really similar. Stockton, what you're saying. You've attracted money, checks in the post. Oh yes, your flat in Cardiff, loved that story. Holidays, car, yeah, so much stuff. We're going to get on to how we're going to use this. So energies of a certain type will attract a certain type to them. So we know that we can often feel it. Like you can feel a sense if you've walked into a room after somebody's just had like a bit of a, I don't want to say an argument, but there's been something happen. You can often sense that in the room just because there's an atmosphere. Like nobody is behaving any differently, but there's a different energy in the room. And all of these things are around us in everyday life. They're there all the time. You don't have to be particularly tuned in. You don't have to be honing in on all of this stuff to get a sense of that and to start to feel it. But the more you do and the more you're aware of it, the more you see it and the more you're able to have that conscious thought around, yeah, why did I feel like that when that thing happened? Or why does that person make me feel amazing when I'm in their company? Or why does that person not quite click with me because we're perhaps on that different energetic plane? Now, the key with this is not only knowing that you are exuding that, but it's of course being able to harness it, because it's fascinating, it's interesting, and I think it's expansive to actually learn some of this stuff, to take this on board and to explore it for yourself. But of course, we are here to grow a business in some way. So we need to know how we can start to use some of these things that are in existence, we're all living around them all the time, to be able to bring it into a benefit for us. Let's be really selfish, because that's what we're wanting to do. We're attracting or manifesting it in every moment. Our energy creates thoughts, and we attract what we think about most. We attract what we think about most. Yes. Yeah. So let's check I've said all that. So the other thing that the quantum physics fellas, I'm imagining like a team with people with white coats here. What they discovered was that positivity and positive energies vibrate at a higher frequency. So they're the more densely uppy downy on that chart, as opposed to the lower, which could be a more neutral or a weaker energy, because it's not that positivity. And that makes sense, doesn't it? You wouldn't think of a positive energy as being grey. You'd probably think of it as a vibrant colour. You wouldn't think of energy being really quiet and peaceful. You'd think of it as being, oh yeah, it's all go, it's all action. So that sort of makes sense, doesn't it? But of course, what can happen is that if you introduce any doubts or fears or just kind of neutrality about something, you're weakening your frequency, as opposed to, I have total and utter belief and I'm full of energy for my thing that I'm looking to work towards. I have belief that I'm going to be able to achieve it. All of this positive stuff. As soon as you drop a little ounce of, yeah, but actually there's a little thing there that's bothering you, and there's a this and there's a this, all the time you're taking yourself down that frequency chart, because you can't vibrate at that fully loaded, super high positive frequency if there is those thoughts of negativity in there. Zosha, what you're saying, the universe is omnipresent, it's everywhere at all times, not something we do, it's something we tap into. Yeah, so that's it. It's not that kind of, right, I'm going to switch on now, I'm going to switch on to feeling positive, I'm going to switch on to concentrating on this thing. It has to be a permanent state of that positivity, doesn't it? The part that I have to work on is how you will attract what you don't want. How you will attract. Okay, so almost the negative of. Does that make sense, Tanya? The part that I have to work on is how you will attract what you don't want. Oh, because that's almost the level that you're vibrating at. So much positive energy can come from very quiet. Yeah, it can, certainly. Negative thoughts that crop up for everyone will always drag down. Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you're it's making sense. Which creates more of what we don't want. Yeah. When you worry, you attract your worries. Stop worrying. Just stop. Let's all just stop now. Okay, so I'm going to take you through some, how many are there? There's not loads. There's 6 steps. Yeah, so that's Titania, attracting negative. I've got hair again. 6 steps. Now there's loads. I've read 4 or 5 different books on this is how we can then tap into it, and they're called Manifesting Using the Law of Attraction, Using Visualization, and I've sort of distilled them because some overlap for sure, some end up having elements of one to another, but also I've distilled it to try and keep it very much in the context of, let's not forget, we are trying to grow a business here. We are looking to develop ourselves to the point where we're able to take a product or a service to the rest of the world. So I've kind of overlaid a little bit of practicality, a little bit of sort of strategy and tactics into it as well. And for me, these are now quite accessible. Like, I'm not ready in my own development to suddenly step into a kind of extreme sense of I'm going to concentrate 3 hours of my day just in manifesting and concentrating on the law of attraction. Like, I'm not ready for that. That's not necessarily where I come from. I want a combination of understanding some of this stuff and being able to apply it, but also with the strategies and tools and the practicalities as well. So that's where these come from. There is, of course, lots of other methods, and it depends where you are with what you're looking to achieve, where you are with what your experience with these laws and this process is already, by the way. So no right or wrong. Oh, you're chatting away, you lot. Tanya, yes, meaning that you focus on the negative. If you focus, it still has the same effect. I'm not sure it does though, does it? Because if you focus on the negative, you are attracting that negativity. It's that whole, you create your reality from the inside, isn't it? And being able to remain in that positive state of mind, remain in that total belief state. If there's something there's a doubt, then that's there almost as okay, so now I'm going to have to deal with that, because there's no point in attempting to just put it to one side and no, I'm ignoring it, because it comes up again, doesn't it? We talked about this in relation to imposter syndrome, that if you're pushing on, but yet there's like a big gremlin that you're dragging along behind you, it is going to weigh you down at some point. So having the bravery to almost go, okay, all right, let's just pause for a moment, let's deal with this thing, and then see if I can move through it in a different way. It might be that you have to circumnavigate for a while. It might be that you can really tackle the negative thing, but that's much more constructive in the long term than almost trying to put it to one side and totally ignore it. Kirsty, what you're saying, when you try to resist difficult thoughts and feelings, you end up totally focused on, yeah, do you know what, it's just like that with food, isn't it? It's like telling somebody, you can't eat that, you can't eat that, you can't eat that, don't, whatever you do, think about that, don't. It's the same, you're just transfixed on it, as opposed to, I'm just going to make a few shifts and I'm going to make some alterations to what I do, what I eat. There's ways that you can shift that. It's like telling someone, don't, whatever you do, picture a blue elephant. You look what you've all pictured in your head. Develop your faith at the universe. Yeah, there's a big piece of that, isn't there? That actually there's a trust in that. There's a just relax, and patience comes into it, which I'm not great at. Yeah, replace all your replace it with positive. So replace those negatives with something that's good. Good news is that you don't have to spend hours doing it. Yeah, absolutely. It's noticing, isn't it? It's checking in. It's that, oh, actually that's interesting that's popped up. I wonder what that is. I wonder how I can work through that. No, you are. It's fine. Okay, right. So let's kick off with the 6. If you've not said hello, because we've got fabulously 11 of you already today. So hello if you haven't already said hello, and I haven't said hello to you. I'm going to have a slurp. I've got lemon this morning. I'm so teed out already, because that's it. The weather's gone, and it's tea o'clock, isn't it, all the time? It also doesn't matter if it goes cold, because it still tastes all right. Okay, so number 1 is that you need to set a clear intention. Don't spell red wine. Yeah, no. We moved into our house in November. Not quite. We haven't quite been here a year, and we're fans of red wine. And in our previous house we lived in 7 years, we never spilt any, never. And within 3 months of moving in here, we dropped an entire bottle, which we were gutted about, because that was the start of lockdown, when all the wine was disappearing off the shelves, and it went everywhere, up the walls, everything. Then one of the kids knocked one over in the lounge on the cream carpet, and then my husband kind of nearly knocked it, but then caught it again in the kitchen, and it went all up the white wall. So that's our 3. So yeah, we don't talk about red wine spillages in this house anymore. Okay, so number 1 is setting your intention. So you need to be crystal clear on what it is you're wanting to use this universal law to achieve. And it's no good making it a bit fluffy and a bit general. You're going to have to be really, really specific. And there's a really fine line in this, and I talk about this in relation to goals as well. You're going to need to make it something which is big enough that kind of makes you go a little bit, ooh, but it's not so big that those doubts and that negativity creeps in that says, don't be so ridiculous. These are all the reasons why you can't achieve that, and that. And the only way you're going to know that is starting to play around with what some of those intentions might be. So, noting them down, writing them down, putting them on Post-it notes. This is what I want to achieve, and making it specific. It might be, I want to have a business that turns over a certain amount of money per month, per year. I want to be able to touch the lives of X number of people every year. I want to be able to buy a house in the mountains. I want to, whatever your thing is, what is your intention? And is that intention, when you look at it, is it something which you couldn't just kind of work for a few weeks, months, and take certain steps and then you've done it? As in, you know, is it really a stretch? Is it something that's going to make you expand and grow to be able to achieve it? Or have you gone easy and lowballed it because you want to almost test this theory out? There's a really, really fine line. And I think the only way to truly understand is to write these things down and let them sort of sit with you for a while. Journaling's a great way to explore this, a really good way, because you can almost make your statement. This is my intention. I'm making this statement to the universe. This is what I want to achieve, and I want to achieve it by this particular time frame. So setting that intention and then exploring, right, how do I feel about that? How does this make me feel? Is it a little bit scary? Is it a little bit exciting? What emotions does it evoke in me? And can you stay in that positivity? And you're going to have to be like your own worst critic. You're going to have to dive into that. Okay, so do I have any doubts about that? Because those are the ones you're going to need to eradicate. You're going to need to get yourself work through some of those doubts and be able to really concentrate yourself on, this is my absolute belief that I am going to be able to achieve this, and this is my statement, this is my intention. And then I think once you've got yourself to that point, you should be able to regularly talk about it. You should be able to put that statement out to the universe on a regular basis. This is what I'm working towards. And if you can't, so if you met somebody in the street and they said, oh, you know, what are you working on at the moment? Would be a slightly weird conversation, wouldn't it? But, you know, what are you working on at the moment? What are your intentions? What are your aspirations? Are you going to be able to tell that person? Are you going to be able to say with total conviction, well, I am planning to achieve this, this and this, or I have a mission to help XYZ. I will transform the lives of XYZ people. Are you able to totally stand in that? Because if you can't, there's something going on there that if we can work through those, then you're going to be able to raise that frequency and get those vibrations back up into, yes, I'm in this top row of the super high frequency and super positivity. What you're going to need to do when you're working through that intention is to create some emotion. So to create emotion adds weight to your stated intention. So what does that mean? Okay, so where we talked about those positive thoughts and having that positivity, that's a great foundation, really good. Like, I think I'm really pleased to set this intention as this, and it makes me happy and it makes me excited. But if you can then overlay a whole set of quite deep emotions that are associated with it, then suddenly it is like adding rocket fuel to your intention and the way that you're setting that out to the world. So again, let's use the microwave analogy. If I put a drink in the microwave, or if I put water in the microwave in its bowl, the energy emitted from the microwave will hit it and it will warm it up. We know that, it's a scientific thing. If I put a spoon in that liquid, a metal spoon, it will heat up in about double the time. So what I want you to think of is your bowl, your liquid, is your intention, and you're going to be positive about it, and the microwave's going to do its thing, the universe is going to do its thing. But if you can add some emotion to it, some passion, something that gets you properly fired up, if you can add that, then it's like adding the spoon. Because as soon as you do, it's a whole different level of frequency that you're then emitting and that you're giving out to the universe. Because not only are you tied to it because you think it's a great thing to do, you're tied to it because of the emotional connection you've got to it. Let me pause, have a look what you're saying. Deborah says, the intentions are always scary because the world is always telling you to get real and be realistic. The world is. Yeah, often they're your voices though, they're your beliefs, they're sort of past experiences that are influencing they're making you almost like too logical, aren't they? Because they're bringing you down. It's almost like a gravitational pull. They're telling you to be realistic as if the things You want to manifest, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. But I don't believe that is the world. I think that's self-generated. And we self-generate for all sorts of reasons. We self-generate that gravitational sort of negativity to hold us down, to keep us restricted, principally to keep us safe. So without beating ourselves up about, don't be so down on yourself for restricting, all of those things are there for a reason, because it's wanting us to keep in our zone of comfort and being safe, not trying new things, not pushing ourselves out there. That's why they're there, which is fine if we were about to jump out of a plane without a parachute. But if we're talking about pushing ourselves on and doing something different with our lives, then we're probably still actually pretty safe. Yes, there might be an emotional journey you're going to go through, but so I think it's about really understanding why those things are there. And as I say, rather than attempting to drag this huge gremlin along with you, actually saying, okay, I'm just going to press pause for a moment and we're going to have a chat and we're going to have that conversation, and I'm actually going to work through it, because you can then start to almost work with it a little bit, as opposed to just dragging it along with you. Working towards thought is a great one. It helps you focus on the end goal rather than coming from a lack of space and not having it yet. Yeah, true. Goals are quite clinical and cold. Yeah, they can be. Intentions are about how you feel. Thoughts, sights, smells create. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I know, Zosha, you've done some work around actually changing goals, because you've got a similar association to me from past lives with goals. I think goal setting still has a place, but I'm trying not to refer to these as goals, because goals end up being quite practical, don't they? They're almost like, I will take this action to then achieve this thing to this thing. And goals will still, in my mind, they almost sit underneath what we're talking about here. This is like your big stuff. This is your big vision, your ultimate intention. And I think you probably only got one, whereas goals you might have 2 or 3 that are then almost, they're what fall out of this process of actually setting your intentions. You've had people laugh at your goals and make out that you're being ridiculous. Yeah, we're going to come on to who we have in our lives. We've all got blocks. Yeah, we have. Yeah, spend time with it. Yeah. Okay. So, creating a strong emotion. How can you do that? How can you create that? So, being able to connect our emotions to it is really about trying to put yourself in that place. That's the easiest way of starting to actually feel what your intended result is going to feel like. So it could be that you literally describe what your day looks like. It could be that you sit and you put yourself in that place. You might be wearing different clothes, you might look different, you might be in a different room and somewhere else, you might be in a different country. You could be in all sorts of different places, but literally almost putting yourself in that place and then deciding on how you feel. Think about, well, how did you wake up that morning? What were some of the emotions going through your mind? How do you feel just before you go to sleep at night? Being able to tether some of those emotions to the way that you feel is really, really key. And I describe it as almost having threads then within, well, if you've got threads of things that you can see in that future vision or your future result of your intention, then we'll find those threads and almost pull them back, pull them into where you are and where you're operating from right here and now. So that was number 2. So we've got set your intention as number 1 and create your strong emotions connected with your intentions. And yeah, visualization is a really good way of doing that. So number 3 is remaining positive, which is interesting what's been coming up in some of your comments. Remaining positive in all areas of your life, because we know, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, negativity breeds negativity. And if you start your day, there's the whole, did you get out of bed on the wrong side this morning? Starting something on one emotion is likely to then snowball. And the same can be true, of course, of positive. So actually making that conscious step, that conscious effort to be on the positive end of the scale, to stay in that place of, yes, this is all good, and yes, I am achieving, and yes, I'm moving forward, and yes, I'm developing all the time, is much more likely to maintain that frequency. It's much more likely to allow you to stay in that place where it is a real positive for you. And things like something as simple as like a daily affirmation. I've, in the last couple of weeks, signed up to an app which sends me, it feels like perpetual, but it's not, but it's like 4 a day. It'll send me affirmations and I can choose the ones that I really like, and gradually it's becoming more and more attuned to the ones that make me go, oh yes, really like that, you know. And even just something as simple as that. One thing I really like is having your own. So actually generating some affirmations for yourself that might tie to your intention. They might be something that you particularly need to hear right now, and literally having it on a board or writing it down every single day so that you see it, you give yourself the time to actually go through that thought process of, yes, this is how I'm feeling, and look where I am right now, look what I'm thankful for, being in that place of gratitude and staying in that positive energy as much of the time as you possibly can. So remaining in your positive, as soon as you get that negative, as we said, it weakens the energy. And as soon as you weaken the energy, that's a sort of slippery slope, because as soon as it weakens, there is an opportunity for it to weaken more and more and more, and then you've kind of lost all the momentum that you were probably starting to gain from setting those intentions and getting that emotional connection, those first 2 steps that we talked about. I literally can't keep up with your discussions. So that was number 3. Remaining positive, using daily affirmations is one that I really like. This one's very much connected to that. You are what you think you are. Kirsty, you've got a better phrase than that, I seem to think. I can't remember what it is. Oh, you guys are all debating. Yeah, fine. You are what you think you are. And you know what? You can decide that as well. You can decide that on a daily basis. You can decide that on a morning. What am I today? How do I feel today? How positive do I feel today? And yes, of course, there's stuff that happens, and there's crap stuff that happens, and there's things that we have no control of, particularly at the moment, that are happening outside. I am what I think I am. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, you are what you think. Yeah, so decide. You decide, and remind yourself that you are deciding. So when something happens, what are you deciding to do about it? How are you deciding you're going to feel about it? And I'm not for a minute saying you kind of suppress all this stuff and you just keep a lid on it, because that's not necessarily healthy either. If there's something you need to do to express how you feel, then do the thing and then go, right, okay, so now I'm deciding to this. And it's a really interesting experiment to do on yourself. I think I've probably shared this before, but particularly during lockdown when the children were around all the time, it really used to, and I don't want to underplay this by using the word great on me, it used to genuinely get me down that the kids would be spreading their stuff in every room, and I would go out of my little tidy ordered space and go out, and there was, could literally be stuff everywhere, and it felt like I was the only person that was nagging them. And what I decided, again, I did that, I am what I choose. What is it? You are what you think you are. And I decided I wasn't going to get cross. I decided I was going to react differently to it. So rather than going out and going, oh my goodness me, look at all this, we've got to get all this sorted out, we sat down a little more calmly, and I decided that I wasn't going to let it bother me. And it wasn't true. The first few times when things could have triggered me, and I was just properly keeping a lid on it, and it wasn't true that I didn't feel that. But the more I did it, the more I went, oh look, it's actually genuinely not bothering me nearly as much now. And I was just slowly able to let it, almost like release my grip on that stress about it. Now that's a fairly mundane example, but it did really affect me, and I knew that it wasn't fair on me to get them to change, because this is their home and they were in it all the time, just like all of us. So actually it was down to me to be able to say, well, I've got to change the way that I'm going to react to this situation. And the same is true of everything. We need to be able to express ourselves, of course we do, but then it's about deciding, how am I going to create my world from within? How am I going to set those those levels, you know, where are my levels today? Am I high on the positive? Am I high vibe? Am I this? Am I the other? Decide and then stick with it. And it's that sort of go through the motions until it will feel real, because it is. And then all of a sudden, like, they had a whole load of stuff out last night, and I went out and went, oh, great, here we go again, you know. But it's fine, and you know, we'll sort it. It's not worth me getting myself in a stew about. So very much concentrate on that. You are what you think you are. You decide, and you remind yourself of it regularly. So be that through a daily practice of journaling, be that something that you write down every morning, be it something that you just literally say to yourself every day. Really, really regularly remind yourself. So that's step 4. Number 5, this one, Deborah, for you. You are the average of those who surround you. I love this. So being really conscious of the people that are in your life. And it's tough right now. It is tough right now because there's people suffering on so many levels with everything that's happening out there in the world. But you get to decide. So if we combine this one with the previous, you get to decide how these things affect you. You get to decide the level at which any other individual affects you. But if you feel that there is almost like a friction, or that you're not aligned with somebody, then listen to that and don't be ashamed to take action that means you're just putting a little bit of distance between you. And that's really brave, particularly if those people are very close to you, and it can be a little bit harsh. It can land with them in perhaps an unintendedly harsh way, but sometimes the people that are closest to us are actually the most difficult to manage in a way. So being able to be quite conscious that you know that person might affect you in a certain way, and therefore you are this, and this. You are now taking action to this, and this. I'm, of course, not advocating having stand-up rows with all your friends and alienating everybody in your life. Of course I'm not, friends or family. But knowing that there is potentially that friction there, and the way that might feel is your first step, isn't it? And almost you can sort of steady yourself against that. It's like, you know, you're rowing your ship, and actually the person that wants to disrupt you is a great big liner, and you know that when they come past you, they're going to create a big wave, and you're going to have to kind of steady yourself against that. You can't necessarily avoid them coming past you because they're in your life, but you can decide how it is you're going to behave, how it is you're going to react, and the level of impact they're going to have on you. I absolutely can't read. I'll read all these comments at the end. They're close family. Yeah, and I totally get that. And I think when we start on a journey of self-development and change, quite honestly, then there's people that are going to be supporters, for sure, like 100% supporters. There's people who are going to, hi Monica, there's people who are going to be supporters but kind of not fully, like they're saying the right things but they're not necessarily fully behind you. And then there's people who are just out and out going to be just trying to sabotage you, either overtly or the worst is sort of almost under the radar. And you know, they have their own motivations to that, and I guess that's what I try and keep in my mind. People who criticise us are often either afraid of what we're looking to do, or they're jealous. It's normally those two, and it says much more about that person than it does about you. I'm not going to dwell on that anymore, but keep that in mind. It's down to you. It's always down to you how you react. So that was number 5. You are the average of those that surround you. The last one then, and this is great fun. You need to be doing what makes you happy. You need to be doing the stuff that lights you up. Which sounds like I'm giving you a permission to kind of go and have a massive wait, whatever. Do you know what? Absolutely. These can be really, really small things. These might be big things. They might be little things. But the more time you spend in your happy state, you know, that state where life's just good, isn't it? And we've all had those times, for sure. We've all had those times where you're kicking back, or you have that moment of, oh my goodness, it's just all good, and I'm loving this, and this is in place, and this has fallen into place, and the people around me are happy, and therefore I'm happy. We have all had that state of almost euphoric, but not ridiculous happiness, not like, you know, you've been rolling around on the floor laughing. You just feel complete. That's the best way of describing it. And the way that your energy will be emitting itself during that period of time is what you're looking to try and recreate. That's what you're wanting in your life, to be able to use this stuff, to be able to actually tap in. You are looking to get yourself to that point of this, just like, I'm in a happy state as much as you possibly can. So how do we do that? We don't just say to ourselves, oh, I'm going to be happy today. It's not always that easy. But you know what? You've got to find out what gets you into that state. And I could tell you a whole heap of things. I could give you loads of examples. It might be this, it might be this. They might all be irrelevant to you. Or, do you know what? One day they might work and another day they might not, because it alters depending on where you're coming from, where you're starting from. But knowing and starting to almost be really, really conscious of what makes me happy, what lights me up, what makes me feel that expansive, oh, yes. And then being able to incorporate that really regularly, not like this is a real treat because I'm able to have a soak in the bath with the door locked. I say that flippantly, I don't mean to. If that is what makes you happy, if that makes you feel relaxed, if that makes you just kind of be able to reset, then you need to plan it in. You need to get it into your day. If going for a run, Kirsty, makes you feel that euphoric, yes, I know you know that. If it's taking a walk in nature, if it's going on a beach, if it's having fresh flowers on your desk, whatever it is that you can find that you know adds to your happiness. And these don't, I don't want you to read into this that I'm talking about big expensive things. I'm really not. This can be something as simple as putting some lipstick on when you go to Tesco's behind your mask, because you know you look good. It might be wearing an item of clothing that is in your wardrobe for best. Who's got those? Who's got those things? Who's got that little section of your wardrobe that's for best? And when was the last time you wore the thing for best? What if you put it on and do the vacuuming? Is that going to make the vacuuming a bit better? Is that going to make you feel happier? Then do it. Like I've been out recently and my kids have gone, why are you wearing that, Mum? And I've said, because it makes me feel happy. You know, these do not have to be big things. It can be something which literally just raises your mood, raises you up. And knowing that you feel that little bit better, you're in a better place, you've created that energy, you created that little turn up of the, oh yeah, I'm going up. You're thinking of going to Tesco's in your sparkly dress. Do it, absolutely do it. Yeah, I went to meet my dad for coffee the other day in like a proper summer dress, really dressed up, and I was like, I don't care, because the summer dresses pretty much have gone away now, haven't they? That makes me happy. Painting my fingernails and having my nails nice makes me happier, and which they're not at the moment. I picked it off, Monica, don't tell me off. Positivity and getting these practices into your life on a regular basis is about just those small little building blocks. And the more of those small little building blocks you have in your life on that constant basis, the less you're trying to pull yourself up from the, oh, today's a tough one. Because actually you've already, it's like you're reaching really high, but you might as well have a couple of bricks underneath you already, and they're like your go-to. They're your, okay, when things are tough, I'm going to raise myself up. It might be music. Music's quite a common one for people. You know, getting your headphones on and dancing around your house and singing your head off and just feeling that almost, oh yes, this does it for me. This just lights me up. It makes me excited. So doing what makes you feel happy raises your positivity. And do you know what? The more positive you are, the more the rest of the stuff we've talked about starts coming into place. Whoever wants to start to tackle a tough job or something that they've been putting off when they're already feeling a bit like that, right? I woke up this morning and this happened. You don't, do you? But if you've raised yourself up to that, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good today, suddenly the stinky job you don't want to do suddenly becomes like, oh yeah, it's fine, I can do that. I feel like I can tackle it today. And the same is true with all of this. by being able to vibrate at that frequency more and more and more and more. It's about that being part of your life. That is just your default. Let me see what you're saying. I'm going to actually have tea. I can't keep up with your debate. You're thinking of going to Tesco's. Find joy in what you do. Yeah. Make a gratitude list. Watch what's on that list. Keep coming back. Yeah, so journaling's that's a great way of effectively being super conscious of, what am I thankful for today? How do I feel today? What has made me happy today? What is going to make me happy today? Knowing that you're starting from that point. And then if you think, well, I can drop my affirmations in there, and then I'm going to remind myself of what my intention is. Suddenly you could have spent like the most fulfilling 15 minutes just literally writing some of this stuff down and reminding yourself, this is where I'm operating from today. Or you could be resetting yourself to say, yeah, I woke up in a bit of a funk for whatever reason, and then this will happen and this happened. But you know what? Pressing the reset button, here we're gonna go again. It can be all sorts of things, can't it? It can be literally stuff has happened and it sent you down, but then you're able to just do something to switch yourself. When you vibrate at a happier, higher frequency, you're more an energetic match for those. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you're going to attract that positivity, aren't you? Because your vibration is going to match off the vibration of the other good stuff, and positivity breeds positivity all day long. And that is a great place to operate from for any reason. Like, everybody should be vibrating at that positivity, with that energy, with that, oh yes, let's do this, let's embrace the day, let's get on with it, let's move ourselves forward. And where your attention goes, then energy flows as well. So concentrating on being positive might feel a bit forced at first, but before you know it, actually it's just a normal thing, because that's where your energy is flowing to. When you show gratitude, you're raising your vibrations and you're finding alignment with the universe. That's when you begin to co-create. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, so imagine if it was that easy, just being able to reference for yourself, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm positive for this, I am setting my day's intentions like this is how I'm starting, rather than almost that kind of busy, reactive, right, I've got to get up and then I've got to smash through my to-do list and I've got to this and I've got to this. You've got to have that absolute single-minded belief that you know you can. And that's where your secret weapons come in. And your secret weapons are just literally yourself. They're your head, they're your mind. The law of attraction is there for you to tap into, to be able to manifest your intentions. It absolutely is. I truly believe that. And being able to take some of these steps towards starting to use that. And it might be that you'll kind of test it out. If you're a bit of a cynic, if you're still not convinced, then it could be that you start setting things small, that you can test it a little bit. So set an intention of something which feels a little bit more, it's still not like you couldn't take action 1, 2 and 3 and achieve it, but it's not huge, life-changing, total transformation of your being. That there's something in there that you can still start working towards. Pauline, hi, you're just literally dropping on, I'm almost finished. That actually being able to set it in that way gives you the opportunity to literally start trying it, start honing it. Well, what works for me? Do I like the thought of daily journaling? Do I want to sit and do meditation and look at my manifestation through meditation as well? Just trying it out. And I'd love to find out what you set. If you're setting an intention to the universe, then why not share it? Share it in the group, share it on this thread. Set those intentions clear and decide on how it is you will work for you to work through these things, because it is going to be different for everybody. It's got to work for you, raising that positivity. Are there any other questions? What are your thoughts? Share before we go, before we just wrap up. Has that been helpful? Has that sparked some debate in your mind? Has that made you more cynical, less cynical? Tell me kind of where you are with it now. Have you got some plans? Have you changed your view on it? just share with me. Be interested to know before we go. And of course, as ever, if you've got any questions, either right now, drop them in, I'll try and answer them. If questions come up, drop them into the thread. I will try absolutely to to answer them. Sarah's gone woo woo. Really interesting. Oh, good. Thanks for staying, Jackie. I'm not sure I've totally gone woo woo, have I? I've got like a foot in each camp. Yeah, it's something that it's absolutely firing me, and I think the first piece around the law of compensation, that is what really got me. Like, oh wow, yeah, I love this. It makes total sense, and I've been doing it wrong all this time. That then sort of expanded my thought into I'm going to look at the law of attraction even more. Yeah, we could. Yeah, I could. I could talk for hours on most things. We've been on an hour, literally. I thought it might be about half an hour. Did you notice we haven't had the cleaners last week? Last week we had the cleaners in, and that's not any kind of euphemism, by the way. So I messaged them and went, thanks ever so much. Please don't come again between 10:30 and 11. Pleasure, Emma. It's been lovely to have you here. Good. Glad you liked it. Fascinating subject. Yeah, seeing that. Everyone needs a bit of woo-woo, don't they? I think they do. I think that is absolutely true. And it is about a combination of everything. Like I said, I'm quite a logical person, that I have quite a sort of bias towards practicality, action, strategies and all of those things. But I love this, and the thought that actually there's no rules around you have to be one or the other, and combining some of this stuff together, because it works on us so much more. There's more about that personal development rather than, okay, so I'm going to give you a checklist or a go-to guide that says, well, do this, this and this and this, and then if you do all that, you're going to have a successful business. There's more to it than that. There's so much more. You've got to be in that place of truly driving yourself forward, and truly knowing that your intentions are clear, and that your motivations are clear as well. And once you combine the two, that's where you get the fireworks. You really do. They're flying through now. Pamela, reinforcing what you've already read. Brilliant. That's good. You're the same. Need to get a bit of woo-woo on. Yeah, let's do it. Fabulous. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. It's been an absolute joy, as always. So much better when you guys talk to me, as I'm sure you know. When we were talking about our old lives, I can't remember who I was talking to about, and I went back recently and had a look at some old lives when nobody watched me, and it was just like so dry. So honestly, I totally feed off your energy. I've said that time and time again. All sorts happening for me at the moment. I know I haven't been live very much recently, but there's a whole heap of stuff going on behind the scenes. I feel like I'm going through a little bit of a transition. Some of this is part of it, but there's all sorts on its way. I'm starting to think about our next challenge, which is likely to be, I'm going to say probably mid-end of October. And yeah, a whole heap of stuff to share with you between now and then. But go and have an amazing week. I hope you don't get too cold and wet now that it's autumn. It's been a pleasure, as always. Go and enjoy your time, and I'll see you all really soon. Bye-bye.